Hey gang, thanks so much for checking out the show tonight. Today we are going to take a look at a replay for the 2002 show Rhythm of the Pridelands, music from The Lion King. I am joined today by three Immaculata All-Stars, not only alumni from the Immaculata Band, but also staff members. So maybe we can introduce everybody, give you a chance to introduce yourself. So Neil, why don't you go first?
Hello, Neil Cote. I was class of #04 and taught 15 years.
Forever, yep.
Forever. But yeah, Lion King's one of my favorite shows. When I was a junior then, and I just remember it being really cool because I happened to be able to go see the Broadway play, so making that connection to the story, it was an awesome time.
And Nick, how about you?
Yeah, Nick Fiorentino, marched alongside Neil, same years, graduated in '04. It has to be between this and the Millennium Celebration for my favorite show. I go back and forth in terms of which one I like the most, but to play off of what Neil said with the Broadway show, my favorite thing about the show was how, if you ever saw the Broadway show, they use, people dressed as animals to really bring everything alive. And I think we didn't have that, but I think we did an outstanding job through the show of bringing everything alive and kind of holding up to the Lion King itself. So it was one of my favorite shows for sure.
Cool. Awesome, Nick. Thanks for joining today. And last but not least, Kevin McKeever.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Kevin McKeever. I was in the drum line, let's just say in the 90s. and I've been on staff since the late 90s. That was a unique year for me because it was the first year that I wasn't able to do band camp due to work. So I wasn't around too much, but I do remember thinking to myself that I wasn't going to like this show at all. And the biggest part of the biggest memory I have from this show is how much it grew on me throughout the entire season and actually became one of my favorite shows that Immaculata has done.
Oh, that's cool. So yes, let's talk about the show. It was definitely an interesting time for the band. So this was the 2002 season. And the year before we had done music from the movie Gladiator. And there was a huge senior class in that 2001 year. So I think there were 50 kids that graduated from the band going from 2001 that left after that year. So we knew as a staff that we wanted to pick a show that was going to be hopefully a heck of a lot of fun. We didn't try to go too challenging. We tried to go more in the GE realm as opposed to the performance and excellence realm. So we definitely tried to pick a show that was going to be a lot of fun. The music was from The Lion King, but not only from the movie, but also from the Broadway play. So a really cool mix of kind of movie score-ish, but also some real legit Broadway content, which was a heck of a lot of fun. And the concept of the story was really originally a day on the African plains. So as we take a look at some of the video clips, you'll see like it starts with the sunrise and everybody waking up. And as you go through the show, it ends up at the end of the day and the sunset. And you'll see there's a moon flag that goes by, and it really kind of captures the way we thought a day on the African plains would be. So Kevin, you had mentioned a little worried about some of the music. What were you thinking? I'm always fascinated whenever we announce a show is like, here's this title. What were you thinking when you first heard Immaculata Band is going to do The Lion King? What is this?
Yeah, so I think I'm very similar to Sister Dolores in the sense of, enjoying like the typical marching band show, and the thought of doing anything different was always a little bit scary. And just throughout my years, I always kind of had that feeling that any band that did music from like a Disney animated movie, even though the music's fantastic, it was just kind of, we were just a little bit above that. We were above something that was an animated classic. And that was just my own thinking. So I knew that, once the show had been picked, that it was going to have to really, we were going to have to really bring it to life. Not only play the music well, but bring the actual story to life. And we did it. Between the connection between the band and the color guard and the drum line, all the theming that went into it, it was a true production. So I went from not really being a big fan of it to loving every minute of it.
That's cool. And so Nick and Neil, you guys were juniors that year.
Yep.
And this was way back in the day when we used to announce the show at what was called the Pasta Dinner at the time. It was a Sunday event, usually
I remember that.
in February
I
or
did.
so. And, I think the jazz band might play or something. Then towards the end of it, we'd get up and just announce what the show was. So do you guys remember what you thought about the show when you first heard it?
I remember the music being really cool. And again, because I was a big fan of the Broadway play. So hearing a lot of that music being used, I was pretty excited about it. But at the same effect, I kind of had similar thought process as Kevin, being like, it's a Disney movie. How are we going to make that pretty awesome? But, again, we did. And yeah, so needless to say, I was pretty excited at the start.
Yeah, and I think choosing some of the music from the Broadway score, which is a little more mature, was a great mix. So it was still recognizable, but it had a little bit more of a mature feel to it, which I think was a good design choice.
I would take a slightly different approach on the music. I mean, when it was first announced for me, I was really excited about it. And maybe I'm a little greedy because, we came from Gladiator the year before. So we've had shows that always kind of tied into movies or from something, outside of our senior year. So to me, like knowing the music and hearing it and knowing what parts of the show, the Broadway show and the movie, I enjoyed it because I could visualize the passion that was going into each song. And I can use that to motivate myself and obviously the rest of the team. But I like the music. I was excited about it. I mean, it's one of my favorite Disney movies by far, in case you didn't know. But no, I was excited about it.
Nice shirt.
Oh, yeah. I just noticed that.
Yeah, I just noticed too.
Nice.
Hakuna Matata.
I always find it so fascinating when we announce a show what the feedback is, because again, you play a 30-second clip of a song, and most people you don't know what you're getting yourself into until you start playing the music and you go to Bandcamp and everything else. And I remember after we announced it, the staff was struggling, like, what do we want to call this thing? And we probably said when we made the announcement at the Pasta Dinner that it's selections from the Lion King or something. And I remember seeing Tim Haney, who I'm sure we'll talk about coming up in a little while. Tim was also was he your Neil, or was he a year younger than you?
Year below.
So Tim was going to be a sophomore, and he came over to my house for a lesson. He's like, "What's this band show, Rhythm of the Pridelands?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh my God, that's our title!"
There you go.
Like, totally stumbled into it. I don't know where he got it from or how he came up with it, but that's where the title of the show came from. So it's pretty funny.
It's awesome.
And that's another example of taking something like the Lion King and actually just changing the title a bit and making it our own, which was
Rhythm of the Pridelands is way different than the Lion King, right?
yeah. Absolutely.
So a little bit about the season. So the competitive results. This was the first year that US band, I guess they were USSBA back at the time. This was the first year they did state championships, and then what they eventually ended up calling all states. So I don't know what our placement was at states. I couldn't find that information anywhere, but I did find that we came in second at all states, the championship show, which I think is now probably called nationals. We had a score of a 97.6. Cheshire ended up winning the show with a 97.9, so a couple of tenths away. And we also took home the awards for best percussion and for best marching. And Nick had done a little research crunching some of the numbers. And Nick, what did you find out that score was?
So I saw it was our third highest score to date. Well, it was the highest score at the time, tied. And then I believe it got beat by 2011 for highest score overall. But we're still, tied for third for high score in band history. So I remember it being a pretty award-winning year.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing when you think about it. A whole bunch of other shows we had done that year. We always do the Somerville show, but we had done, that's back in the day when we used to still do the Trenton State show under the lights on AstroTurf, which was an amazing experience back at the time. Piscataway, North Warren. The Edison show was a standstill, which I didn't remember that one, but I guess that was a standstill inside. And then I know one of Kevin's favorite shows that year is we also, after states and before the championship show, we had a show at Sayreville on a Sunday afternoon. I remember Kevin had a good time at that show, working with some band parents and some staff members to make sure we could warm up effectively. So that's always fun when you're working through some of that stuff.
You'll have to ask Kevin about that one.
Yeah, we'll take that one offline. So then next up is just, there were so many memorable things about this show. And again, the staff really tried really hard to make it more of a visual experience, coming off the show the previous year with Gladiator, with losing all those seniors. We knew we wanted to make the show a heck of a lot of fun. So, as you start to watch the video, there's so much stuff on the field. There's props out there. There's all these different sound effects with these frog sounds that we were making, and bamboo poles and buckets and leaves. What are some of the things, Nick, we'll start with you. What are some of the things you remember from just performing in that show, and what made that show feel so different and so memorable for you?
I think Kevin, in our text conversation we had before doing this, I think he kind of said it best, and I agree with him. I mean, it kind of was one of those shows where it had a little bit of everything. I mean, there was emotional parts to the show. There was very tense moments of the show, Stampede. And then obviously there was a great big party that just happened to be the drum solo. So of course I'm biased towards that. But I remember distinctly, it was the first year to me where we all felt like we were kind of like a cohesive unit. And I remember Ed specifically at band camp, or one of the shows, Ed Dosher, who you had on last week, kind of was explained everything. And he said, band kids, when you guys are banging on the trash cans and stuff like that, the buckets, that's, you guys are helping the percussion. And when you're doing the chants and you're doing everything else, you're helping the color guard. And that was like my first eye-opening thing, where there was everybody played together. It was a cohesive unit. And I think that the scores that you mentioned before reflected that. I mean, we had a great year.
Yep, I agree. I remember our buddy Mike always wanted to be a drummer, but played sax. So he got the chance to play a bucket, and he was thrilled doing it every day. And I loved having him behind us. Andrew Stankiewicz as well, our good buddy. He got the chance to be on a bucket with the drum line. I thought that was a great moment, bringing everyone together. Very, very cool.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll show some clips. So the drum solo was a real big experience. It was a combination of two tunes, Busa and Under the Stars. And Kevin, you'll probably remember this better than I will, but Busa is kind of like that percussion soundtrack or underlying music. I think when Simba is running from the jungle or wherever he was, when he was hanging out with Hakuna Matataing with the guys and heading back over to Pride Rock. So, this real kind of driving percussion type thing. And what we did was we added so many of the wind players, I don't know, but it was about half of them or so, onto buckets and onto these like bamboo poles and sticks. And the buckets were really just buckets from Home Depot, a 5-gallon orange bucket that, one of the kids' parents, took all the labels off, and we taped them up with yellow, so they had these really bright African colors, and we had a real blast with that. And that was really stuck out and really made us a bit unique, because during that there was also a chant that was happening out with the rest of the color guard and the rest of the winds, and I know that was always a kind of a fan favorite, but also a favorite for the members. Like you said, a bunch of the guys in the band really enjoyed playing and getting the chance to be in the drum line for a while.
That's what kind of hit me this past week after watching. I think I watched the show like 13 times this past week, just to kind of refamiliarize myself with it, because I hadn't seen it in a long time. But what I took from it was that, like, what a production it was. I mean, we had the garbage cans out on the field. I mean, what a unique way to kind of create that African drum type of feel. But like all the coloring, like the coloring of the buckets, the designs that the band dads had taped onto all the buckets, the bamboo sticks, like everything was a complete package. The color of the color guard uniforms, that Lion King gold color. So just watching that, I was like, geez, it's like everything was in perfect place, like everything. And I also took from it, like, just about how how much fun it must have been to be in the drum line at that time, to play like so many different types of instruments. It wasn't just your typical cymbals, bass drum, snare, tenors, pit. It was djembes, right? Do I have that word right?
Yep. Junes.
Yep.
I mean, it was so many different types of instruments, which probably opened up a lot of doors for like IHS percussionists that year to kind of explore different avenues in their own path in music.
Yeah, I think the snares were on djembes and junes during the drum solo. And there was, I forgot about the garbage cans. So in addition to the buckets, we also had garbage cans, like, big 50-gallon, whatever they were. And they were on the front sideline. I think the cymbals played on them, and I think the snares also played on them. Again, just trying to create some real rhythmic kind of feels to them. The other funny thing I forgot about, that Donna Cardineo sent me a note, and she said that every single rehearsal, Andrew Stankiewicz would come up to her and say, like, can we play the drum solo? Never wanted to clean it, never wanted to work on it. Just wanted to play it over and over because I guess they had a lot of fun doing it. So
nice.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally is like a 2-minute, like I was saying in the text last night, it's like a 2-minute explosion, and it just keeps going. And if I was in the audience, I would just be blown away.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of explosion, Tim Haney opens up that solo by screaming and wailing on the djembe for probably 15 seconds, which felt like an eternity, but it was amazing at the time, and it was way longer than he did all season long.
Exactly.
So everyone in the drum line was like cracking up at him at finals doing it so long, but it was epic, and I think it really, really set the tone for what was coming.
So I remember specifically with you, Neil, when we were kind of egging Tim Haney on. Specifically, we were talking about, he would do it for 10 seconds. We were like, well, he probably couldn't do it for 20 seconds. I don't know if he could do it quite for 30. So I remember kind of egging him on and getting him going. So I knew that the championships was going to be the longest. And Tim Haney, I mean, he was great.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I could find the tape. I still remember the percussion judge from that night going, wow, he's really mad.
I mean,
that's awesome.
It was the perfect segue from the end of the ballad into the drum solo. Like, perfect way to kind of kick off that next part of the song.
Yeah. So
even like the way the show flowed and connected was done like perfectly.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because when I was watching the video, I totally forgot. So one of the main reasons we had that whole busa piece, just the percussion heavy part before the melodic stuff came in where the band also played, was we needed some time for the winds to actually go pick up all that stuff. So there were all those huts that were on over on side one, probably from like midfield back to the back hash or so. And that's where all the props were hiding. So the huts did a really nice job of kind of setting a stage for us, but it also hid all those buckets and all these drumsticks and all those bamboo poles. So we needed that transition time of busa for the kids to run back, grab all their stuff, and bring it back out. And that's, that was that transition out of Shadowland, which was just such a beautiful ballad.
One of my favorites.
I forgot that wasn't in the movie. It was only in Broadway.
Right.
But just what a beautiful piece.
And I think that song came back for Indoor, right? For Into the Jungle.
So, 2000, was that 2015?
15.
Yeah. In 2015, the Immaculata Indoor Drumline did a show called Into the Jungle, and we brought Shadowland back, and we had a bunch of vocalists singing it, and it was a really cool moment again. Just such great music. The whole opening and closing of the show with a soprano sax, I think that was also really unique for us as well. I'm not sure. It's probably the first time we had a soprano sax in the field, Kevin. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember, and again, that just showed that this was going to be this wasn't just going to be the Lion King. This was going to be, Immaculata bringing that story to life in in the Immaculata way. So I don't know what the original, was it always written for soprano sax, that part? But
I don't remember. I don't know if
yeah,
you
I'm
changed
not
it
sure,
midway
but
through the year or yeah.
but again, like who else would start the show with a soprano sax, or would it think to use a soprano sax for that part?
Yeah.
And it, right off the bat, it showed like that it was going to be, it was just going to be at a higher level.
I think he did such a nice job of bookending the show too, with the whole sunrise sunset thing, and the whole band's waking up, the whole band's falling back asleep. So that was a heck of a lot of fun.
For sure.
Cool. There were some other things. So I was talking to Ed Dosher and Donna Cardineo and Ed Weber about just some things about the show, and one of the things that everybody came back with was, and I didn't remember this at all, but just it rained that whole year. We had a show that got rained out, but I forgot that I guess it rained all the time. And Donna said she'd have to get there a couple hours before every rehearsal to line the field with her husband, Jim. And then, they'd come off the field at the end of the day, and just the shoes were just covered in mud. And Sister Dolores would make sure that there were tarps in the chorus room, so everybody could leave their shoes on the tarp so they didn't take mud all the way through the school and come back. So just so funny to think about that old field at Immaculata and the dryness and the mud and everything else.
And that was pre Field of Dreams, right?
So yeah, that was before the turf.
Yeah, it was a grass field, but it really was just dirt.
Yeah. I think it was always grass when the season started, and then between the band marching on it and the football team playing on it, by the time you got to October, it was just dust.
Dust bowl.
You would leave rehearsal just covered head to toe in dirt.
Yeah.
Ruined plenty of sweatpants at rehearsal that year.
Yeah. I still remember having a cold one day and like blowing my nose at the end of rehearsal. It was just brown from all the dust coming up.
Every time.
I remember just taking my contacts out at night, and then it would be like filling the solution in, and it's like starting to turn brown. I was like, oh.
But another point about the beginning of the show that kind of struck me this, after rewatching the show, was just even how we always talk about when a show comes together, it really comes together, and it's drill, it's music, it's color guard, it's percussion. And, from the start of the show, it was like, even like drill design, like when, the big hit from The Lion King kind of kicked in, the formation almost looked like Pride Rock at the very end. And like half the band kind of knelt, on one knee, just kind of like they did in the movie, like all the animals did. So it was just, it's a full package in terms of drill design and, and music.
Yeah, I think the color guard, I know one of you guys mentioned it before, the uniforms, but also the color guard hair too. I know Donna had mentioned they had worked so hard on, and Ed mentioned too, just different hair ideas and different hair designs. And, when you get some close up, you can see like that hair is really out there. It definitely creates a really cool feel for them. Cool. Well, I think the biggest topic that's remaining is championships night. So championships were scheduled, I think, for Giant Stadium on November 16th. And we had a phone call that Thursday night. It must have been November 14th, whatever it was, that Thursday night rehearsal. And while you guys were rehearsing, we found out, I guess there was a big storm coming through. So they actually said, they're not going to have championships on the 16th. They're going to move it to Bridgeport, Connecticut on a Tuesday night, which to me, living in central New Jersey, going to Bridgeport, Connecticut on a Tuesday night at 7:00 just sounds completely insane. I'm not sure if you can actually get there from here at that time of day. And as it turns out, you couldn't, because I don't know if was it one of the buses or a couple of the buses got lost?
I know the percussion bus did.
Okay. I was going to say, I know ours did. For sure.
So one of the buses got lost, and I don't know if you guys were on the same bus that Donna was, but she said, she had mentioned to the bus driver, I think we're going the wrong way. And the bus driver's like, no, we're fine. And of course, this was before Waze and everything else, and let alone printed directions. Who knows if they had that. Yeah. And finally, Donna said she saw a sign like New Hampshire so many miles away. She's like, all right, time out. Something's really wrong here. So I just remember like being at warm-ups, and I think warm-ups were they 15 minutes at the most, 10 minutes?
Yeah, we did 8s and 16s, like 3 reps, and then the show music, and then we were out.
Yeah.
Well, I had my own issues that night getting to Bridgeport, because it was Tuesday night. I was working in New York City. Hopped on a Metro North train up to Bridgeport, but accidentally got off at the wrong stop, Green Farms or something like that. As soon as the train pulled away, I knew, I'm like, I'm not in Bridgeport. And luckily the next train came within like 15 or 20 minutes, and I hopped on and got off in Bridgeport. But the whole time I was like, I missed the show. There's no way I made it. I missed warm-ups. I'm like, why did I even bother? But I got to the gate, and they're like, no, Immaculata hasn't gone on yet. And I found you, Dan, or you were in front of the drum line, and I was like, I can't believe I'm late. And you're like, don't worry, we just got here too. Like, what happened?
So crazy. And Donna had mentioned, I guess US Bands was awesome. They totally opened up and moved some crowds so we can just get the bus all the way back to the truck. And, I guess we got a, 10, 15 minute warm up, whatever it was. And, Donna had said like the rallying cry that year was, practice like you want to perform. And, I guess we did, because we must have practiced pretty well to be able to perform like that without being able to warm up.
Yep. And win a drum trophy with a 10-minute warm up.
Yeah, I think, imagine if we warmed up more, or maybe we only need 10 minutes to warm up. Maybe that's the secret.
That's the secret.
Just go on the field.
Yeah. That's good.
So some other odds and ends. I was asking folks around about the show, and Ed Weber, who I think that was his first year as a staff member, who eventually went on to become the band director for the next 15 years. He had shared some very upsetting news with me that he won favorite staff member of the year, which really bothered me that year. After all the work I put in to try to figure out a drum solo and everything else really cool, and Ed took the title for favorite staff member. So I think he says he still has that trophy laying around his house somewhere. Donna had shared some wacky story about pink pajamas and penguins on the bottom. So if you're a member of the O2 band, you probably know what that means. I will not even try to sing it, because you don't want to hear me sing. Anything else, guys? Anything else jump out to you about the year? Any other memories, or reflecting back 19 years ago?
I'll say my biggest memory on the show, obviously, was Eric. I was setting up to play snare that year, and Eric Seberg ended up getting injured and couldn't fulfill playing bass drum. So I guess you had pictures of Eric at bass drum at band camp, so it must have happened shortly after. But I was set to play snare. Eric got hurt, moved over to bass drum, played with Luke and Ryan Confroy and Bobby Greenlee. So I had a great year playing with them. But in order to do that, I remember sleeping over Neil's house, obviously one of my best friends at from high school. We actually won, along with Ed Weber, we won best friends that year. You, me, Andrew, and Mike Flynn.
Oh, nice.
Little fun fact. But,
yep.
We spent all night going through line by line, beat by beat of that show. And I could not have been prepared if it wasn't for Neil. So
that's awesome.
That was a great memory. I remember hashing that out with you all night long. And,
nice.
Part of what made us a championship drumline that year.
Yeah,
so.
awesome. Teamwork. That's the family, right?
For sure.
Yep. Awesome. Can't forget about that tenor solo either. I remember working on that with Tex.
Oh, yeah.
Tex and the guys under a tree at lunch or something. Came back and everyone was blown away. We're like, what are you doing? Are you the cadets? Because we were running around each other on stands doing this crazy tenor solo.
And I don't even remember if that was originally in the show. Like, I I don't think it was originally designed. I'll have to go back and look at the charts, but I don't think it was originally designed to be on stands and bring those things out in the field and everything else. But obviously, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that was a fun moment, man.
One of the most impressive things I've ever seen. I mean, I remember during band camp, like you mentioned with Tex and learning that stuff, and it's during our free time. We can go do whatever we want. I remember watching you guys do that tenor solo because it was just so impressive. It reminded me of the Cadets, immediately. So it's awesome.
Yeah, Cadets 2000, I think, did that, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
It's impressive. The whole show is impressive. I mean, from start to finish, it's entertaining. It's got challenging parts, and it was one of those years where we just really went for it and it worked. And I think it opened the door for future shows in terms of adding more props to the field and expanding the type of instruments that we bring out to the field, or changes in between songs. Like, when I watched Rhythm of the Pridelands this week, the other show that comes to mind that's, I think, very similar is 2016 Arabian Nights. Just a lot of similarities between the two shows, and I think the kids had a lot of fun. I think when the kids know the story already, or they know, they can kind of latch on to some kind of story. It makes it that much.
Earlier, I agree.
It clicked so much easier and faster.
Yep.
And I feel like 2002 just clicked so fast, and it just took off from there. I mean, you watch that championships video, and you guys were on fire that night. It's like,
fun stuff. Really fun.
Was it the first year that you had the band doing like chants and stuff like that?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can't think of any time we did it before then, right?
Yeah, because you did that a bunch times after that too.
Yeah,
the success. So
just I think like Nick had shared earlier, just it gets everybody into it. You're all on the same page. You're all doing the same kind of thing, and made it for a heck of a lot of fun. I think back to that tenor solo too. It's that we came off of that ballad, which was such a fabulous moment in Katie's baritone solo and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? It was Tim with the hand drums, right?
Yep.
Then it went into a pit front sideline thing with the cymbals.
Yep.
And then it kind of built up from there, starting on the tenor thing, and then that just led us right into that whole big drum break. So I think from a pacing perspective, it was just a heck of a lot of fun and just always something to watch. And
I think during that,
while the band was restaging, grabbing all their toys to play with.
Yep.
I think there's like 3 parts within there where you think it's over, that drum solo, and then it's like, nope, here comes the next round.
It might have been a little long.
Immaculata drum solo along the way. Come on.
I'm not sure we needed a tenor solo to start the drum solo. Then as soon as the band came in, then another tenor solo. But
that's true. I
it
didn't mind it. I didn't mind that at all.
Like the championships video is funny because it's like the camera shots just keep changing so quickly because they must have been like, what's happening? What's going on? It's really I didn't know what to capture. It was just seriously everywhere.
I wonder if that was our show or just the way they were doing the camera work. But I was surprised watching the video again. Saying like every 2 seconds there was a new camera shot. Like, what's going on here? Can I just get a high cam? That's
it was funny.
Cool guys. Anything else to share? Any other closing thoughts on the season?
I just wish I was in it.
Yeah.
I guess that's the point. I'm happy that I got to be part of that show because it was awesome.
Absolutely. And couldn't have done it without, you guys and the rest of the team and the band dads and the band parents in general and everybody that came together and helped so much. It was just, all 4 years, not just this year, always felt like it was a big family. And this year more than the other ones just because of everybody tying together. But, couldn't have done it without you guys yourselves too. So.
Well said. Very well
I
said.
think it was definitely the band parents, the band dads, the band moms, played such every year they play such a huge role, but especially that year with all with the huts. And then, how many times did they have to go to Home Depot to get more buckets?
I can't even imagine. The saying is probably apropos since we did a show about the Pridelands, but it really does take a village to get a show on the field. And the dads built all those props that became a village. And actually, the other thing Donna shared, I totally forgot, is there were these, I think there were 5 huts, again, trying to set the African scene. Donna was putting in a pool that year, and Donna took one of the huts home to have kind of a tiki bar at her house.
Nice.
And actually still has it. So she still has one of the Immaculata huts in her backyard.
She loves Jimmy Buffett. So.
That's awesome.
Margaritaville. Yeah.
Hilarious. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. I want to thank Neil and Nick and Kevin. Kevin's all the way down in Alabama, so thanks for connecting with us tonight, and hope you guys all enjoyed the replay. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you guys. See you soon.